Hey, what's up, everybody? I hope you're all having an awesome Thursday. Thank you for joining us for another installment of Taking It Back. I'm with Frankie Val and Zach Payne. How's it going, guys? I missed you boys.
Hey, it's going well. Good to see you both. I had a lot of people last week. They were like, "What happened? What happened to taking it back today?" They were
What
really
did
upset.
happen? Yeah, that was at Adel. You had to bow out, and before that, something was going on with me. So
Yeah.
I think it's been close to a month since we all got together again. Were we on the air since I got remarried and went on my honeymoon?
I don't think so. I think
Oh,
that was the last time that I spoke with you.
so then it was the week before the
Yeah.
21st. We haven't been on in a month, all three
Wow.
of us.
A crazy summer, I guess. How was that, Frank? How was the honeymoon?
It was great. It's nutty because part of our first honeymoon we just cobbled together back in 2017. We cobbled together, a little road trip here, road trip there. We didn't like actually get into a plane and go anywhere, but one of the places we went to was Maine, and we went to this very same place. We love it. It's a little inn in Bar Harbor, and this time we went back with Aurora, and it was just, I don't know, it was just so special. I wish it was more than 3 days, but time and money, they are what they are, and
Yeah.
it was a lot of fun. I'm happy to be back, but that was really 3 days in heaven.
Oh, that's awesome, man. I'm glad you were able to do that. That sounds like it was a cool experience. I've never been to Maine. I've never been.
You really must.
Yeah, I've never been really anywhere in New England. Like I think Buffalo, New York, is the closest I've been to like the New
What about
England.
you, Zach? Have you been anywhere in New England, the
Uh,
Northeast?
yeah, I mean, I lived in Massachusetts for a while, and my exposure to Maine is basically relegated to Stephen King books when I was a kid. So, as far as I'm concerned, it's all doom, gloom, creeps, and murderers, I guess.
You know what's crazy? And I had some time to talk about this on my show, and because I have a friend, at least one good friend in Maine. But when I told him, hey, I think we're going to be coming your way in May, maybe you can meet us for breakfast one morning. He was like, dude, I'm 7 hours north of Bar Harbor, 7 hours north, and you're still in Maine. Maine,
Maine
number
is huge.
okay. Number two, Bar Harbor in itself is a very interesting petri dish experience. It is a small little town that has 2,000 residents, I think, year round, but it takes in about 4 million tourists because they have the cruise ships coming in, and there's so many things going on. They check every liberal box you can imagine, but at the same time, because they are a self-sustaining ecosystem of their own, especially economically, they're also fiercely conservative. You can just tell it. You can just tell that there's a strange balance there. So on one hand, everybody is just like naively friendly. It's almost like Mr. Rogers. Like if you're in the morning before everybody really wakes up, if you're walking on one side of the street and somebody's walking on the other side, they'll yell across the street "Good morning" to you. Everybody just so it's beautiful, but it's very very strange. The other thing is that there's so much history in Bar Harbor, in particular, in Acadia National Park. It is basically founded and developed by the Jekyll Island crew. Like everybody that created the Federal Reserve was essentially set it up as their own little playground. It's such a fascinating place, but also a really pleasant place to be. I gotta say, and I know it's a touristy, spot in this big state, but that's all I know, and I always love going back.
So what's interesting is that I mean I knew that Maine was big, but I've never like thought about it in terms of comparatively to other states. And so I found this website that compares the size of Maine, the landmass, to the landmass of Michigan. Because I was thinking about, I mean, you can drive from the southern border of Michigan up into the Upper Peninsula, and I mean, you can be going all day, 12, 16 hours. And Maine is just slightly smaller than the lower peninsula of Michigan. So basically, the state of Maine will fit over the mitten of Michigan. But there's a lot of land that's unaccounted for. And then the entirety of the Upper Peninsula is like it could be another state all on its own.
Really.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's big. I mean, like it takes a long time to drive all through there. And I've driven all over the UP before and all over, the lower peninsula as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I never thought about how huge Michigan really was then, because that's
Yeah.
well, guys. I want to start today with something I saw at the beginning of the week that I thought was jaw dropping. Honestly, it was on CNN. They ran a segment about how, well, essentially, you're a conspiracy theorist if you say that America is not a democracy. If you call America a constitutional republic, you are a deranged conspiracy theorist. I was shocked that they actually went there. Take a look at this.
President Biden touts his re-election campaign as a fight to preserve democracy. But if you ask some Trump supporters, the former president is not a threat to democracy because the United States is not a democracy. CNN's Donnie O'Sullivan spoke to some of those supporters.
What happens if Trump loses?
I don't see him losing.
I don't think he lost the last election, to be honest.
Do you think he's going to win?
Yes. Without a doubt. No doubt.
What if he doesn't this time? What happens to the country?
We're in trouble. We're in big trouble. We're done. Biden talks about democracy, saving democracy. They're the ones that are killing democracy.
Obviously, there's a lot of criticisms of Trump that he is bad for democracy, that he's bad for American democracy.
Okay,
We
so
are a republic.
We're a republic.
We are
we're
not a democracy.
Republic. We're not a democracy.
One thing we've been hearing at Trump rallies like this over the past few months is that America isn't really a democracy.
America's not a democracy, it's a republic.
It's not a democracy. Okay, democracy is actually not as good as you think it is.
But for centuries, America has celebrated its democracy.
Democracy is worth dying for. Democracy remains the definition of political legitimacy.
But some Republicans and pro-Trump media are pushing the idea that America is not a democracy.
The United States of America is not a democracy. We are a constitutional republic.
The United States of America is not a democracy. You don't want to be in a democracy.
We are not a democracy. We are a republic.
Is America a democracy?
America is a democracy. It was founded as a democracy.
I've heard a lot of conspiracy theories. I hear a lot of things out on the road. But to hear Americans, people who would describe themselves as patriots, say that America is not a democracy, that stopped me in my tracks.
You are hearing people say America is not a democracy because there are people around Trump who want them to be saying that, who've been planting that narrative.
Is America a democracy?
Yes. No.
What did you say, Frank?
It's like, it's interesting to watch these retards talk to each other. Like, it's just one. Hey, what else do they have to talk about right now? A republic is not possible without democracy because there are purely democratic. And when I say democracy, being there is a one vote attached to one person, and like everything is a referendum, everything is whatever, and that is what everything is. Just mob rule on single issues and single everything. That's it. That is what makes the republic model of representative government that is, of course, has to exist within the confines of a ratified constitution, constitutional republic. Democracy makes a republic possible as a tool, as an actual mechanism. But we are not a democracy. I mean, that would be the most ridiculous thing for our founding fathers to have ever considered, since it is just one half step away from monarchy again. They wanted us to be as far away from that shit as possible. And democracy is probably more dangerous than monarchy. I would say it's more dangerous than monarchy. So it's I don't know. These people are retarded, and they love cherry picking and giving, Tinder to their friends in the video editing department at CNN to make this breathless for all the idiots who still watch them.
Yeah, at least in a monarchy, you only have to worry about the bad opinions of one individual. Yeah. With a democracy, you've got to worry about the bad opinions of the mob, essentially. And the fact that Donnie O'Sullivan, he's an Irishman, he's coming here telling us what our country is, the foundational definition of what the United States of America is. And he's got no freaking business. But it is hilarious to me that they're positioning this as if it's some sort of a conspiracy theory. Like only brain dead MAGA America firsters would be dumb enough to think that we live in a republic. Like it's fucking there. Like it's right there. Okay. Like, I mean, it doesn't take any sense in your head to be able to figure that out. And
a republic, madam, if you could keep it.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
It's the first damn thing. This is that was the first press release given about what was going on. That was Benjamin Franklin's press release. A republic, madam, if you can keep it. But here's the thing: if we abandon that that knowing of what a constitutional republic is and why we were given that form of government to be stewards of that form of government. If we abandon that distinction, then of course everything that stands in democracy's way, like an electoral college, separation of powers, that federalism in general, how the states trump the general government on all matters, save for a very small list of duties and authority that is granted to them in Article 1, Section 8. I mean, it's to do away with that distinction is to make people more emboldened to demand for whatever is left of the republic model to be done away with, because it's just a hindrance to democracy. So they don't want those barriers. They don't want those hurdles anymore.
I see a bunch of people in the chat, quoting the Pledge of Allegiance and to the republic for which it stands, right? But I'm going to go back here a little bit. To where this woman from the Atlantic, because she makes it about Trump, surprise, surprise, CNN making about Trump, as if nobody ever considered the United States to be a republic until Donald Trump showed up on the scene, right? And they do this with everything because they've created this hatred and fear of Donald Trump amongst their brain dead viewers that all they have to do is phrase any argument, regardless of how ridiculous it is, through the lenses of pro or anti-Trump, and people stop thinking objectively or with any sense at all. So this, again, here, take a listen.
I've heard a lot of conspiracy theories. I hear a lot of things out on the road. But to hear Americans, people who would describe themselves as patriots, say that America is not a democracy, that stopped me in my tracks.
You are hearing people say America is not a democracy because there are people around Trump who want them to be saying that, who've been planting that narrative.
Is America a democracy?
Donald Trump
was the Trump camp planting that narrative in the Ron Paul campaign years ago too? Was Trump behind Ron Paul the whole time? I don't get it.
Ron Paul pulls off the mask and it's Donald Trump.
There he is. I knew it.
I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for you meddling deep state.
It was like that's incredible. The Irish guy or whatever the hell the foreigner's name is, sitting down with that woman almost like she like he was going to her for counsel and she was there too. Like I felt like we were looking in on a therapy session for a moment there. What the hell was
breath? Hushed breath.
That's the news.
Faded tones.
That some people consider that the nightly news.
It's
I mean, first clue is that she's from the Atlantic. I mean, the Atlantic is not in favor of anything related to liberty or freedom or choice for these people. I mean, the Atlantic wants to dictate terms, and as far as they're concerned, I mean, if they can convince the American people that this is a democracy, then they can continue to push it further and further until it no longer is a republic.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, to their point, I will say this, and I was talking about it last night with my guests. We were talking a lot about the Roman Empire last night, and I've been saying for a long time. I mean, you want to talk about what the charter for the United States is? It's a constitutional republic. If you want to talk about the reality of what we are, it is not a republic. We have not been a functioning republic for a very long time. So again, there's a sense of magical word wizardry, and that is baked into all of these really psychologically damaging television programs, where what they're really trying to do is make sure that nobody ever tries to dig up what our origin story is, because we're not a republic. And Republicans have just as much a hand in that fact as Democrats. Very little, outside of like gender issues now really separates the two parties. They're terrible, and they have been for well over 150 years. So it's a weird situation, because they're, in a way, they're right, but they wouldn't dare say why.
I mean, we're certainly not a democracy either, if you're going by like how the country's run. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's
closer to an autocracy at this point.
Yeah, an oligarchy. Yeah, I thought this was like I have on my show every day my friend Drunk Pinata, and he does a broadcast right before he jumps on with me every day, where he just watches the mainstream propaganda and kind of breaks it down and analyzes it, and he brings a lot of clips onto the show, and we see the psychopaths like Rachel Maddow, Nicole Wallace, and Ari Melbourne, and all these people go through all kind of crazy nonsense, and the stuff that they throw out there is always over the top and unhinged. But this one seemed like it was a step beyond that. Like I said, people are literally in the chat right now quoting the Pledge of Allegiance. They're trying to convince people that have been probably saying that all through their elementary and high school days. They know it's a republic. They've been calling it a republic their whole life, and to make them sound crazy for remembering that it's a republic, or learning that it's a republic, or just the straight fact that we were founded as a republic, that's some serious 1984 Ministry of Truth level dystopian shit right there, beyond almost anything else I think I've seen while doing these broadcasts and kind of watching this stuff. This one to me was way more over the top, and just such a directed attack on your intelligence, I don't know, it's just insulting on a whole new.
It's not that surprising to me. I mean, it's right up there with telling you that that's a beautiful woman with a cock. Okay,
man, she has a gorgeous cock.
Such a feminine cock.
You can only get that in left-wing circles. Her cock was incredible.
Oh God.
Oh well. Was that all you were going to say? Zach, I was giving you room.
No, that was it. It was
Okay.
It was a one-liner.
We're just letting that marinate for a minute before.
Hey, listen. Again, Donald Trump is the effigy and he has been that lightning rod, that prop for well over 8 years now. And what it really comes down to is whoever the hell is suffering the slings and arrows at the time is going to be the person who has been planting these strange notions about what we are as a country and what we aren't. Because the one thing we can never do, they don't ever want to see us take a step back toward what normalcy is, especially in what it would be considered a traditional American sense of normalcy. I was talking about this not too long ago. The other night, I was saying the craziness, because I was reading a little bit about what Samuel Alito was caught saying about how there are two nations pretty much duking it out right now in this country, and one is going to have to win out. He was talking about the American constitutional order of things that is holding on by, I don't know, a fiber of a thread. And then you also have a left-wing ideological scourge there is no form to it. It's a very ghostly, ghoulish kind of a thing where every day, from day to day, their political whims is the law of the land. And as long as they have judges in the right place, that's going to be the law, until somebody has the balls to go out there and challenge that newly founded civil right. So it's that's why I say everybody always complains about the insurrection. Insurrection happened a long, long time ago. And we have just people who are really the new conservatives trying like hell to conserve what they've built on top of the bones of a once republic. They are the conservatives now. We're trying to progress us towards something that's more sane. So if you want to talk word magic, there's another layer to put on top of it. They're the conservatives now because they own everything.
Yeah, it has completely flipped. You're right. Like, we need to progress back to the republic or something closer to it. I mean, do you think, Frank, that the I guess what we would consider ourselves to be conservative, do you think there's a chance we do get back to some sense of normalcy without completely blowing it up or completely imploding, or has it gone too far at this point?
It's really all a matter of what your state governments are doing. I
Yeah.
mean, Zach has the best the best situation out of the three of us.
Yeah.
That's so. But that's really what it is. You want to talk about how people are going to reestablish their connection to their local communities and their local government, and that's the best way anybody can do anything. I've been trying to get someone like Larry Sharp to come back on the show to talk about all the ideas he ran on for governor of New York in like 2014 or 16 or something like that. It was incredible. All of his in-state objectives were on how to get off of the federal dole, how to rethink education inside of New York so that what we generate from our state taxes is more than enough and children have actually more options going forward, and still, instead of being put into this 10-12 year educational meat grinder, delaying going off and learning skills, trade schools, whatever the hell it is. He has some awesome ideas which make you politically autonomous again. We would have I would not be worried about anything in this country, in this union, if the states were politically autonomous still from DC. Yeah. DC could be as crazy as it wants, but if the states are generating all of their in-state programs, and if they're stable and if they're solvent without the methadone drip of stolen or loaned government money, then they have their own line item veto on everything. No, we're not sending you anything for Social Security. No, we're not contributing anything to Ukraine. No, we're withholding this, withholding that, because there's no highway money to hold them hostage with anymore. So I wouldn't be, scared about anything if there's a little bit more autonomy on the states. But everybody is on the dole now. Everybody.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think that is the answer to all of this, is for the states to start taking on the responsibilities that the federal government has traditionally put upon us, essentially telling us that they're the ones that have to deal with these things. But they're not doing that now. Take a look at Texas. Operation Lone Star. In 1 year, they have reduced illegal border crossings by 75%. Okay. I mean, think about all of that time. Everybody was just sitting back. Why isn't Washington doing anything? Why is the federal government just standing back and allowing this to happen? Well, obviously it's by design. This is what they want. They've tricked everybody into believing that it's only the federal government that can deal with these problems, that from Washington, D.C., they have to dictate terms to 50 different places across this nation, when in actuality, all it requires is a little bit of strong, decisive leadership at the local level. And even more importantly, to what Frank said, is for people in those communities to actually take on leadership positions and to be dictating those terms back to Washington, D.C., dictated to your state capital, dictated to Washington, D.C., take back that power and start using the resources that communities have within them to actually build a coalition that's going to work and that's going to keep us safe, that's going to keep us prosperous. Because otherwise, if we're looking at DC to do it, it's absolutely not going to happen. We're in a really, really difficult time right now, but I think that it's probably the most opportune time that we've had, certainly within our lifetimes, because Washington has just essentially said, hey, even though we're supposed to be doing this stuff, we are not going to, and we're only going to tell you that we're going to do things that are directly going to harm you. So we just need our state governments and our local governments to say, absolutely not. We're not going to deal with that anymore. And we're going to start doing it on our own because you're not doing it. And if there's money that's getting sent to DC, you just have to withhold it. You say, absolutely not. So because of how bad things are, it's opened up a doorway for each and every one of us to take on that responsibility and to start filling in the gaps where otherwise something else was filling it before. And I think that's great.
Well, let me ask you what have you guys been talking about on your own shows about even just Donald Trump's floating the idea out there that the income tax should go away and tariffs should once again be the only thing that's keeping the federal government afloat, because of course that is the originalist approach to what the very small and limited general government was going to be there for. Tariffs would be more than enough to generate money to cover the cost of the post office, because it's not even legal for us to have an army established in peacetime. That's, I guess, and we haven't declared war in a while, but we're all over so there's so many things here that frighten people with that kind of an idea. But
Frightens all the worst people, because all that move would do, it would flip the entire game on its head. Incentivize people to create better opportunities in this country. I mean, imagine what you could do holding on to an extra 30% of what you make. You might be able to have single family incomes, a parent at home with the kids. You're not sending them away to these indoctrination camps. You're able to focus more on the local level and what's going on around you, rather than just struggling to make it paycheck to paycheck. It has to be a completely paradigm shifting move that I think would very quickly improve the entire quality of our day-to-day lives in so many ways. I mean, I think that's probably the single greatest thing that could happen, is to eliminate the income tax. And then you'd have government. I mean, they wouldn't just have this bottomless pit of tax dollars to do whatever they want with and waste and spend. I mean, I feel like they would be more incentivized to use what comes in judiciously and efficiently to make the most of it, rather than just knowing that they can just continue to rob us at every turn. I mean, that one move alone, I think, would solve so many problems, or at least give us the ability, the opportunity to solve so many problems that we have right now in this country. I really hope that's a serious proposal and not just happy talk, because
I mean, listen, for it to be not happy talk would mean that it's not even about a snip here, a snip there. We're talking about flamethrower to the bureaucracy. That's possible.
That's exactly what we need. And that's, me personally, that's why I'm so excited about it, for all the reasons that you said. Obviously, people get to keep their income. They get to use their income in whatever way they see necessary. I think it's going to be necessary. And it allows for the complete closure of the IRS. Think about how much money we're going to save right there in that one thing. In order for Donald Trump to be successful in the second term, he's going to have to take a flamethrower to the federal government and excise that cancer that is the administrative branch of government. All of those agencies that are just sucking up money, sucking up tax dollars, using appropriations in ways that are completely illegitimate and irresponsible. The United States would begin to thrive in a way that we haven't seen since probably before the Depression. And add to that the end of the petrodollar. Okay, Saudi Arabia not renewing their deal with the United States. There is nothing backing up the value of the United States dollar right now. That right there is the death knell of the dollar as the world reserve currency. And that, I think, is going to force us into the sort of currency revaluation and the ending of the Fed that I think all of us have been hoping for a very long time. I think we're probably going to see a major financial crisis before the election. And then once Donald Trump comes in, that would give him the opportunity to completely restructure the system and to end a lot of those bureaucratic morasses that have been clogging up the Washington, D.C. deep state and the swamp for so long. I think that's what we need. And I think that it would also secure him the vote of just about every meaningful American living here right now. And the only way that they would be able to combat that would be to, end up giving amnesty to the 45 million or so illegals that are here right now. And even if they did that, I don't know that it would be enough for them to be able to overcome it. I mean, think about every single one of us is touched by the IRS on a daily basis. All right. Even the billionaires that, have been supporting the Democrats. I mean, you've got them moving over to Donald Trump. But the ones that are supporting the Dems still simply because they're afraid of changing or they think Donald Trump is going to cancel their shows or whatever. I mean, they're going to get a benefit from the ending of the IRS. I think that it would just be a game changer.
How do you think the propaganda machine will try to sell it to the American people that they're better off paying, their 25 to 30% in taxes
They
than
can't.
using their industrial might and charging other countries that have, for a long time been destroying us in trade wars. Like, that's what I'm interested in seeing, is them trying to tell people, no, you're better off. But
that is when you will see that is when the deep fake tidal wave that everybody has been promising us is coming would come. That's when everybody who has any kind of dirt on anybody in the world starts publishing their sex videos. No doubt about it. There has been nothing to really shake up and threaten the system up until this point. They've sweat a little bit. They put some things out there just as a little bit of a teaser. They massage some things into people's heads, but that's when the phone calls will be picked up and say, if you don't stop this, you know what's going to happen, right? Whatever the hell that. But can you imagine, just as an individual person, what you can do? Just think about the income tax. What an extra $30,000 would do for average households.
Oh yeah,
30,000. It's an extra what the feds and the state, certain states are taking combined from people is another salary altogether. I mean, you're talking about, that is incredible. Think about all the charity. Think about all the givings to charity that would happen again. The one thing that I hate so much about the taxing and the spending, you can talk about the military industrial complex as much as you like, but it's really the welfare industrial complex is the worst part of it, because you got people who are now trained into thinking that they are owed the money that everybody around them who's more productive creates. They're owed a slice of that. And what's even worse than that is that the people who dole out this money give people these terrible reasonings for that there too. Oh, because you're of a certain color, so you deserve it because you got a handicap because of slavery 300 years ago. And what you will start taking there, what you start seeing, I think, is when everybody has that money, if that day ever comes, you'll see people really starting to understand and really be grateful for the help that they get from local charities, from churches again, because they actually know where the help is coming from. It's not coming in the form of a faceless government check and the encouragement to vote a certain way every couple of years because of one cause or special interest, slogan or another. It's, there's actually some kind of a charitable infusion of charity in welfare again. There people were too proud to take that shit at one point. They actually wanted to pay it back at one point. You think about that. You think about all the charity, the voluntary giving we would do more of if we weren't being squeezed for every damn penny, and what that would actually do for localities who are trying to help out people who need. I mean, finally, there would be mothers and fathers and children who actually have faces to thank instead of fucking checks that show up in the mail. I mean, so much would happen to just the culture over time, because of course there's going to be there would be a major shock to the system if half of the people in the country who don't pay any taxes because they are being helped out and subsidized in one way or another suddenly are cut loose in many ways. I mean, we're talking about levels of dependency that would cause mass die-off. So things would have to be sunsetted. It couldn't just be ripped off. We're talking about loss of life that is massive. So, but I think that once that all regulates, you would see such a rebalancing of culture. It would be something to behold, and of course, households wouldn't be so stressed anymore.
Absolutely, like I said, paradigm shifting. Like, that's the kind of ground shifting move that needs to be made. You really want to fix this country, 100%. And I mean, things would be cheaper too, right? Like if the corporations weren't charged massive taxes, if the income tax on profit, like goods would get cheaper.
They would be incentivized to bring it back to America too.
Yeah, like every like it's just the exponential effect of it would be just so amazing. Yeah, and I don't know if you successfully implemented the tariffs to match the income. I mean, couldn't you in theory keep some of those social programs going with that income and slowly wean them off over time. Like I feel like that's kind of the idea is, I mean, yeah, take a flamethrower to the bureaucracy and a lot of this stuff over time, but I feel like with what America is capable of, if you take the leash off of it, like you could win in trade and almost every country in the world.
Well,
And
it might take a generation too, but people would be incentivized to do something with their lives rather than living off the teat of Lady Liberty. You know, I mean, like when they started the welfare state, you know, they argued initially that it was going to give people that like helping hand and they were going to be incentivized to do something with their lives. You know, their lives would get better. But I mean, it's measurable. You can see a decrease in the standard and the quality of living from the moment that they started doing that. And people, instead of being incentivized to get off of that free check, they became incentivized to milk the system in whatever way they could, you know, maximize the money that they're getting from the government. And so if that just didn't exist anymore, and we had the jobs to match the people that we have here, then things would be a lot different. And think about this, without all of that money, there's no money to go around for those illegals that they've been propping up since they've flown them in here to the United States. And it's going to be even more of a reason to make sure that we get all of those people deported out of here. And we're already at like a 65% approval rate among all voters, okay, Democrat or Republican. I mean, there is massive appeal for that stuff. I mean, Joe Biden has done a wonderful thing in convincing the American people that the Trump agenda is the right agenda because it's the sane agenda. And that goes across the board. So, you know, if we end the IRS, if we start taxing corporations with tariffs to incentivize them to bring their products and their manufacturing base back here to America, all of the benefits that they have to have that stuff produced out of country is going to be reversed, and it will provide opportunity for people living here in America. And for the people who are otherwise on welfare, you know, I mean, perhaps as that transition period, we provide some sort of, I don't know, a training to help people develop a skill so that they can then go into a field while the companies are building back out the capacity and the factories here in America. But, you know, I mean, there is so much shifting that has to go on. But I mean, it would really be a sea change in terms of how Americans live their lives and the quality and just how much better things can be.
yeah, I completely agree.
It's a dream. It really is a dream.
Yeah.
You brought up deep fakes earlier. Have you heard this deep or cheap fake situation yet with the White House?
They try to rebrand something and they try to be, I don't know. I hate when they try to do things like that. It's so lame.
You know what I'm talking about though, right?
Yeah, yeah. Karen, whatever, Karine
Jean-Pierre.
Jean-Pierre.
I love it because it's so blatant. It's just so obvious an attempt to rewrite the narrative. And, you know, so they started like flaming podcasters and saying, oh, you know, how dare you? But it was like the mainstream media videos that we were all pointing to. I mean, it was the very propaganda mouthpieces that were publishing these videos. Now they've had to start pulling them. So, I mean, I'm glad that people have memorialized them and gotten them on, you know, on their own platforms. But it's just such a blatant attempt to rewrite history. I mean, you don't have to be a genius to look at Joe Biden. I mean, you know, okay, so he's wandering around, he's shaking hands with people who aren't there, he's talking to people who don't exist. He can't even get up into a Suburban. I mean, I'm excited to see what they do for him at the upcoming debate, because there's no way that he's going to be able to perform unless they have him like juiced to the max, or maybe like, you know, implant, what are they, that the Elon Musk brain chip. Maybe they've already got one for him.
That would be interesting.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting. If
he just starts bleeding from the crown.
He'd been going through all that secretly. I wouldn't be surprised. I really wouldn't.
What cracks me up about it is this is 3.5 years into this administration. For 3.5 years, we've had him read like pause, you know, on the teleprompter. We've seen him walk and meander around, like you said, shake hands with nobody, look lost on stage. And they just kind of ignored it. Like there was never an explanation. And you had one video of him in Normandy where somebody took a cropped shot where you couldn't see the paratrooper behind him. And you know, made it look like he was talking to nobody, and it was a bit misleading, to be fair. But they grabbed that one and they branded it a cheap fake. And then they're trying to now say that every video you've seen of this guy looking lost, saying something stupid, stuttering like crazy, misreading a teleprompter, whatever it might be, all of those are no longer valid because of this one video. It's like absolutely cracks me up. Just taking it back, I have a fourth host here today.
Okay. Oh.
And she's getting big.
Yeah, man. The last time I saw her, Frank, she was a little baby.
Oh yeah, she's a full grown woman now. Yeah, no, she was just outside in the and I heard her, with my mother screeching and running through what's it called, the sprinkler. Like 95 degrees out right now.
Yeah.
But now she's weepy about something. I don't know. I'll figure that out a little bit. Real quick, I don't the cheap fakes thing. Is that what we were talking about still?
Yeah.
I think it's just such a hilarious depth to which we've sunk. When now, because all, especially when you were tuned into like the For You tab on Twitter, and you just look at all the paid Democrat shills, just crazy, young and old, they're all so fucking pathetic. And you can tell that the memo has gone out that you have got to overanalyze every physical tick, every misspoken word that Donald Trump has uttered in the last couple of weeks, and we have got to try to create parallels where we're trying to actually create an equivalency between Joe Biden and his absolute physical and cognitive decay and Donald Trump. Yes, they are both elderly men, but they are so desperate. You can tell the memo went out that said, hey, listen, every time Donald Trump stutters, you have got to make this about him being senile. You have to make this about him being, physically shutting down. It's really the only thing here. It's the only thing that they talk about now, as if they're about to cast a vote for Walt Whitman, and it's Joe Biden. The guy is fucking, he's deteriorating. I was talking about this last night with my buddy, with my guest on the show, and he's a power lifter, and I'm an old personal trainer and stuff like that. And I was saying to him, I said, the thing about Joe Biden is this, somebody who has worked in health and fitness, when you first meet a client, and even after you're working with them for months and even years, you're always assessing them physically. You're assessing ease with which they move, tracks of movement, joint proprioception, everything. You're always assessing a person physically to see, all right, what do they have to do a little bit more of? What needs to be stretched? What needs to be strengthened? And what's the plan that we're going to employ to get there? Assessing Joe Biden physically is it's just like there's nothing left of this guy.
No,
it's horrible. I mean, it's really terrible. And I know he was such a fucking shit heel when he was younger, but every once in a while I still feel like, damn, this is elder abuse. They're willing to do this to their own. They'll do literally anything to us. They hate themselves. So what the hell are they hold back against us? Nothing.
Did you see he actually put out a statement? I think it was like June 15th, like was now officially from the Biden administration, like elder abuse awareness.
Oh, yes. I saw that.
Yeah. The irony. Yeah. So, I mean, I think you're right, Frank. I think that obviously they got marching orders to get their 4 a.m. talking points. And it's so funny that they were like, oh, this is deceiving. This is a digitally edited video when digitally edited. What does that mean? Somebody cropped it in an editing program. Okay. All right. Doesn't matter. Like Joe Biden's still over there trying to talk to somebody who's not paying attention to him, who has no idea that he's, even attempting to communicate. And then they go and immediately try to make a misleading claim about President Trump having somebody walk him off stage. It was Don Jr., and he was shaking his hand. He was like, "What's up, homie?" And they just caught it in that one moment. And all you got to do is watch the video. I mean, I think it's hilarious, and I think that it speaks to the desperation that they're feeling right now. And I think that, definitely it is elder abuse, but I also think that Joe Biden is delusional. And I think that he's a stubborn old mule. And he probably has had conversations with people where they've told him that, this has gone too far. We got to find somebody else. And I think that we'll really see what's going on when we get to the DNC, because if they're going to replace him, they're going to have to do it at that point. And it's not going to be Kamala Harris. I think that Gavin Newsom is the only person that they could possibly put on stage because he's just so slick. And California is like the paragon of the liberal virtues of today's radical left. But I mean, people are not going to vote for Gavin Newsom. I mean, his teeth and his hair and his voice can only go so far.
People are floating that governor of Massachusetts, I think, now.
Oh, yeah, because he's black. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I saw CNN mention something about are you ready to take on the presidency? I mean, it's like I see that in basically the same terms as I see CNN or MSDNC or even Fox News floating, who they want Donald Trump's vice presidential pick to be. I mean, is it somebody who checks a box? Is it somebody that we can control? Is this somebody we'd be comfortable with if Donald Trump wasn't there? So, yeah, it's all a psyop.
What do you think? Are they going to replace him? Like, if you had to guess right now.
I mean, they'd be so dumb if they didn't. I mean, like, damned if you do, damned if you don't. I mean, I'm honestly surprised that they haven't done it yet. That's what makes me think like Joe Biden is, he's like that angry grandpa who refuses to give you the car keys when he shouldn't be driving. And so, I mean, I think that they have to. I don't want them to, because I want Joe Biden to be the candidate more than anything else. I want Joe Biden to be the candidate. But I mean, if they don't, I mean, it might speak to the idea that there's something larger going on, because it's just like the stupidest thing that they could do is to have Joe Biden. I mean, the only thing that they have with him is that Barack Obama can control him. That's really it. I mean, like, he can be convinced to do whatever they want him to do, and he gets the ego boost of pretending to play president.
We'll see. I think next Thursday is going to be really, really interesting. I have not stayed live for a debate or anything like that in years, and I think next Thursday I'm going to end my show at like 8:55 and then just relaunch a Rumble and a Pilled stream and just sit back and watch that shit and just comment on body language and everything else, because substance is going to be secondary to everything.
Sure.
And I just want to watch shit.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I mean, I've been waiting 4 years for this.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Can't believe it's going to happen again. And if it goes bad enough, it might be the only one. So
right. Exactly. I feel like this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. It's like the white buffalo at Yellowstone.
I've seen two major opinions about this debate from like a Donald Trump perspective. I've seen people say that they tried to make it such an unfriendly venue to Donald Trump, hoping that he would refuse it and they could kind of use that against him.
Yep.
And then and that Donald Trump called their bluff by accepting it with CNN and all these stipulations and whatnot. And then I've seen like Rich Barris, who has come out and said Donald Trump was dumb to do a debate with Joe Biden. He has nothing to gain from it. Joe Biden's losing the debate every day, just with the way his administration's run. All he could do is hurt himself with that. Where do you guys fall between those?
I can see that. I can see that being I can understand Rich's perspective on that. And Trump isn't the best debater. When I go up there, I mean, I don't know. Like, yeah, this is why I don't watch rallies, and I usually don't watch town halls. I just wait for like some clips to come out there, because Trump does kind of, buzz like a fridge sometimes, talks in circles sometimes, but they all do, that the old school polished political assassin type is that's not what's going on right now. We wanted Donald Trump because he wasn't that polished, but at this point, this guy Biden, or whoever the hell's playing him, is in such shape that he's in, and the moderators there, and hey, I say you have to go out there and make your make your case wherever you can. But I can understand how some people say, hey, listen, you can only mess up. I just hope that he keeps his statements terse, to the point, a couple of zingers here and there, and just don't ramble. That could be that could be good. I mean, you don't have to do much. You don't have to work against yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I understand why Rich would say that. I mean, I think he's right. Donald Trump didn't need to do the debate, but if they would have proposed the debate and he would have said no, then of course they would have used that against him. I mean, it's another damned if you do, damned if you don't scenario. But I think that, simply the comparison of the two records, the comparison of the two men, regardless of how Trump speaks on stage, I expect that we're going to get classic Trump. I don't know how many, terse, concise statements we're going to get, Frank. So, I mean, I think that basically everybody knows what to expect with Donald Trump, and everybody is expecting the same sort of thing we've been getting from Joe Biden this entire time. Now, if he shows up on stage and he's suddenly articulate, sounding like a Yale graduate, I think that's going to be even more suspicious. And I think that this is going to give us a really good compare and contrast of the two men. And especially, looking back at, 2020 and debates then, I think that it'll be a real comparison of how Joe Biden has sort of fallen apart since that time. So, I think that it will be a positive for Donald Trump. And basically at this point, I don't know anybody who hasn't already made their mind up.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up there too. I have to imagine this is not going to have much of an impact on the polls. I have to imagine that the biggest opportunity that's going to be seized right now is for the media and for Joe Biden. Because like you said before, if whatever cocktail they're going to give him prior to going out on that stage actually pulls him together cognitively for 45 minutes, then they can talk about how sharp he seemed and all that stuff or whatever. And of course they take the opportunity to introduce their new talents at the network. They use these debates and town halls to introduce people like Caitlin Collins and stuff like that. It's almost like watching America's Got Talent. It's rarely about the contestants anymore. It's about the hosts, media, and whatever kind of bigger message that they're trying to craft for the country. But I don't think it's going to move the needle with anybody really, because Republican, Democrat, or unaffiliated right now, I think they know everything they need to be. And I think most loyal Democrats that are going to be tuning into that are just going to try to look for a couple of reasons to be, I don't know, a little bit more defiant in their assessment of Joe Biden's health. I think that's really it. I think most people who are voting Democrat without even thinking about it just want him to not look like he's dying for 45 minutes. That's really all it comes down to. So yeah, we'll see.
All right, you guys, I got to bounce. I got to take off so I can get my countdown started.
All right, man. Have a great
show, buddy.
Peace. Good to see you. Thank you, everybody.
Later.
We'll take care of our two sponsors real quick, and then we'll come back and we'll say goodbye on the other side. Our first sponsor is Goldco. Are you concerned about the $6 trillion at stake in the upcoming 2024 election? The Wall Street Journal has reported a critical issue, the looming decision on extending tax cuts scheduled to expire after 2025. Republicans advocate for extending Trump's tax cuts, while the Democrats lean towards letting them expire and increasing taxes on top earners and corporations, potentially creating a massive $6 trillion gap. But fear not, there's a way to protect yourself from this impending threat. Join the thousands of hardworking Americans who are taking proactive steps to safeguard their savings. Visit badlandsgold.com and claim your free 2024 black and silver kit and fortify everything you've worked for. You may even qualify for up to 10% back in bonus silver, but hurry, supplies are limited. Don't leave your financial future to chance. Act now to diversify and shield your savings against the uncertainties ahead. Get your free 2024 gold and silver kit today at badlandsgold.com and take control of your financial destiny. And then also we've got the Badlands shop. Have any plans after the show? How about heading over to the Badlands shop where you'll find Patriot companies with Patriot values. Put your money where your morals are and shop with peace of mind supporting your favorite Badlanders. Whether you're shopping for everyday household items or a unique gift for that special someone, skip the big box store. Check out Badlands shop and support Patriot businesses and Badlands media with every purchase. Find unique items for your home and garden, stock up on food, kids' activities, pet supplies, and even plan your financial future. You'll find just about everything, and we're adding more every day. Thank you for supporting companies that support Badlands. We couldn't do this without you. Visit badlandsmedia.tv/shop today. So thank you to our sponsors. Thank you to all you guys out there who support them. And please hit that thumbs up button and share the link out there wherever you're watching. If you're on pill.net, be sure to give us a red pill and repost the show. Frank, always a pleasure, man. What do you got coming up on Quite Frankly today?
Tonight I have a little bit. I was actually going to open up the lines on some thoughts I have about the all the ongoing deliberation about the draft, and namely whether or not women should be involved in the draft now. But then there's also a really great topic in itself that I'm going to split the time with, and that is called the concept of a thin place. Places on Earth, places that you know of where that kind of separation, that barrier between worlds seems to dissipate a little bit, where you kind of feel like you got one step in on Earth, one step, 1 foot in heaven. Just a nice little first day of summer, chilled out kind of a night, because I'm taking tomorrow night off as my first summer Friday. So I just invite everybody who's watching right now, come on over. It'll be streaming live on Rumble and elsewhere at 7:00 p.m. Eastern time, and there's going to be plenty of time for calls. So I'd love to hear from you and read your Rumble rants and all that other stuff, and your gold pills over there on Pilled. And Adel, it's always great to hang out with you, man.
Yeah, man. And I'm looking forward to early September, where I'm going to drive up there and hang out. So
Adel's going to be in studio with me on September 6th?
That's right, September 6th.
Friday, September 6th. We're going to have an Adel in studio. That's going to be great. I can't wait.
Yeah, dude, I'm really excited about that. Frank, have an awesome show tonight, man. Thank you so much for hanging out today.
Take care, brother.
All right, there he goes, Frankie Val of the Quite Frankly Show. Catch him Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. QuiteFrankly.tv is the place to be. And then, of course, Zach Payne, RedPill78news.com. Two absolute legends of the independent media. My name is Adel Nero. I'm not as much of a legend, but I'd love to earn your follow anyway. 412 Productions is my channel on Rumble, Pill.net, DLive, CloudHub, Odyssey. Catch me on Twitter at 412anon87. Catch me on Truth Social at 412. Yeah, I really appreciate you guys all being here again. If you're watching on any of the Rumble channels, please hit that thumbs up button and share the link. If you're watching on pill.net, be sure to give us a red pill and repost the show. I'm going to read your gold pills here, and that's going to do it for today's show. Tomorrow we'll be back wrapping up the week with my OG crew, Tennessee Homesteader and Drunk Pinata. Next week we've got some special guests I'd like to announce. On Tuesday's show we're going to have Craig Mason of reasonable.tv joining the panel, and then on Wednesday we're going to have the whole No Prisoners podcast crew, 45-1 Actual and the Fam, joining us. Very excited about that. That'll be the third time this month we're going to have those guys on. They make such great guests, so very much looking forward to all the fun times to be had here in the next 7 days. But yeah, that is pretty much going to do it. Let's jump on over to the gold pills and see what we've got in there. Floyd with a tucking it back cookie. Thank you, Floyd. Sherry Pittsburgh says, good afternoon. Great to see you, Sherry. Thank you for repping the 412. Loop the Loop with a can. Thank you so much. Filter Dog 1 with some shade says everyone is here. Yeah, we had the trio together today, and oh, it's always so fun to get Zach and Frank together too. Like I said, absolute legends, brilliant minds. So honored to work with those guys. Braves Piano, Boys Blanc, thank you guys for the cookie. No thanks, Joe. Says good to see you feeling better. Thanks again for another great conversation with other common sensors. Yeah, I am starting to feel like myself again. Big time. Thank you to this stuff right here. Yeah, this is like my fourth bottle of Pedialyte over the last 36 hours. And with every one, I feel myself coming further and further back to life. So I appreciate that very much, guys. Let's see. Filter Dog ones, I think they have to wait until after convention to make the switch easier. I don't know. It's just I feel like they're in a rough spot. I think, when you talk about the plan and everything we've been through, I think part of the brilliance of it was to position them into having to use Joe Biden and really exposing so much through the Biden crime family and the ineptitude, the corruption, all of it. And then Floyd says, cheers to another great show. Guys, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. We did 1,717 gold pills today. I'm going to save the scratching until tomorrow. So tune in tomorrow. I'm sure we'll release that to wrap up the week. And yeah, fun times today. Fun times. All right. That's going to do it. This has been Taking It Back for Frankie Val of Quite Frankly.tv, Zach Payne of RedPill78news.com. My name is Adel Nero, and this has been Taking It Back, a 412 production syndicated by the wonderful people over on Badlands Media. I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your Thursday evening, and I look forward to catching you guys tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern Time for another installment of Taking It Back. Good night, everybody.